Hi folks, thanks for having me. My name is Jason Thompson and welcome to Grafted In. In Psalms 22, King David describes the Messiah as a worm. Of course, some people would argue that David was comparing himself to this worm. We will look into the symbolism of this worm in Psalms 22 and I'll let you decide. But the big question is, why would the prophet David point towards this worm? Let's read Psalms 22, starting with verse 1. My God, why have you abandoned me? Why so far from helping me? So far from my anguish cries. My God, by day I call to you, but you do not answer. Likewise at night, but I get no relief. Nevertheless, you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. In you our ancestors put their trust. They trusted, and you rescued them. They cried to you and escaped. They trusted in you and were not disappointed. But I am a worm, not a man, scorned by everyone and despised by the people. So let's look into this worm. The worm at this time in history was called the tola. It is known today as the Coccus ilicis, the crimson worm. This worm is also found in Exodus 16, verse 20. When the children of Israel gathered too much manna in the wilderness, the Lord would send this crimson worm to devour the overstock. So what or who does this worm point to? Let me explain the life of this tola or crimson worm. When this crimson worm produces, which it can only do once in its life, it finds a tree trunk, a wooden fence post, or a wooden stake. It attaches its body to the wood and makes a hard crimson shell. The shell cannot be removed without tearing its body and killing it. The worm lays its eggs under its body so the shell will protect the young larvae. When the young larvae hatch, they stay under the protective red shell. The body of the worm gives protection for her offspring and provides food. So the young larvae feeds off the living body of this crimson worm. After a few days of feeding on the living body of this worm, the larvae grow and the worm dies. When the worm dies, it secretes a crimson red dye that stains the wood it is attached to and covers the young worms with its crimson red dye. The crimson red dye protects the young worms from predators and stains them red for the rest of their lives. So who is King David referring to? Who is this crimson worm that its young feeds off the body and stains its young for the rest of their lives? Matthew 26, verse 26 through 28. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, and when he gave thanks, he broke it and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body." Then he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the new covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sin." What did Jesus cry out while he was on the wooden cross? Matthew 27, verse 46. At about the 9th hour, 3 p.m., Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani," that is, my God, why have you abandoned me?" You see, King David was not referring to himself. He was referring to the Messiah. The Messiah here is the worm. The worm points to Jesus. Jesus is the Messiah. This is a prophecy fulfilled. Thank you for watching. God bless you all. And remember, conviction must align with Scripture. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.